You're watching ChillyBoy Productions. I'm Larry ChillyBoy Chilson, and this is my review of Death on the Nile. Before we get into this review, make sure to go ahead and click that subscribe button down below so that you can chill with me on each and every one of my latest videos. Death on the Nile is a 2022 mystery that follows the latest adventure of Perrault. He goes on an Egyptian vacation, which is interrupted by a terrifying search for a murderer aboard this luxurious yacht. Perrault must figure out which of this couple's honeymoon guest list is executing the murders before it's too late. So I haven't read the Agatha Christie novel that this is based off of. Really, I haven't read much Agatha Christie, but I like seeing the old whodunit murder mysteries come back to the big screen. They've had a bit of a revival over the past couple of years, and they're executed well. It's a really fun genre. Now, The Murder on the Orient Express, Kenneth Branagh's first venture into this set of stories, was okay. Very pretty, a gorgeous film. Stunning costumes, set designs, the direction looked great. It just lacked a little bit of oomph. It lacked a little bit of urgency. And then we get to Death on the Nile. But when it comes to Death on the Nile, I still held out hope. I clearly love me some Gal Gadot. And yeah, we have a lot of camp folks up in this film, but the trailers just looked intriguing to me. Maybe we fixed those problems from the first go round, and Kenneth Branagh was really going to deliver something stellar with Death on the Nile. So I tossed my champagne in the Nile and went into the theater with some hopeful optimism that unfortunately was very misplaced because I actually like Death on the Nile a lot less than Murder on the Orient Express. Actually, I found this to be quite the messy murder scene. So let's go ahead and talk about the positives first. Well, once again, the costuming is stunning. I think all of our cast looked amazing here. And the costumes and even the production and set designs were very nice. Kenneth Branagh knows how to bring a period piece to life through the actual visual appeal. And he doesn't even quite nail that as usual. But when it comes to the dressings, that looked stunning. And then we get to our cast, which I think is a bit of a mixed bag. I actually think Gal was very warm and very charming in the film. Maybe she doesn't have all that much depth, but really that came down to the character as much as it came down to any part of her performance. She gets a lot of slack, but honestly, especially when it comes to delivery, I think some of that judgment should be reflected upon, particularly when we start dealing with people whose English is not their first language. Just saying. But further than Gal, I actually thought a canceled member of our cast, Letitia Wright, was pretty good. Her character was kind of fun, kind of spunky, and she delivered what she needed to in that. And actually, I thought her character was one of the better written characters of the film. I also thought her aunt was fabulous. Honestly, most of the older ladies on our ship were wonderful. And once we start getting into the mystery of it all, and Pierrot gets to really dive in and grill people and get down to business, the film definitely picks up some steam and it's moving, starts to get interesting, if you will. But unfortunately, that's about as far as my positives go, because Death on the Nile felt like death in the theater for a majority of the viewing experience. Ugh. So let's go ahead and dive into the negatives. Well, my biggest negative is actually Kenneth Branagh's direction. Ooh, I know, but it's a jumbled mess. Everything on the technical side of this film, outside of the window dressing, actual costumes, and production design, was just weird. Just off-putting. It is very stylized. The filter and the cinematography technique used here was actually distracting to what was happening on the film. It muddied the visuals that were on display. These big grand scenes looked cheap, looked like bad CGI. There were moments that horrible green screen was so apparent. Visuals just are not very good in the film at all, and they are not aided by this very, very strange stylized way Kenneth Branagh chose to film. To add that his framing was so awkward, once again trying to be hyper stylized throughout, and instead we're cutting off people's heads at the top or at the bottom to the sides. As the camera moved, it did not move well with people. It honestly was not shot well at all. And the editing was very clunky. The film has absolutely no flow to it. It awkwardly kind of like chugs its way from one set to the next, moving from scene A to scene B with no good or seamless transition. In at least two separate occasions, we just randomly watch animals jumping out of the Nile or swimming through the Nile and eating other animals. And I think it was supposed to be like this symbolism of what was happening or on the horizon. And it was just weird and awkward. And then to compound all of this, there is a framing device that bookends this film. And it is so out of place and awkward. Honestly, for the first 5 to 10 minutes, I thought I was in the wrong film. I thought they started showing a completely different movie. And what they start with is a cheesy mess. It was completely unnecessary. It did not serve a good purpose in the film. It only distracted from our main focus of what we came to the theater for. It was cheesy and the dialogue was cheesy. It was just really, really unnecessary and not needed. And then we kind of revisit at the end with another just little tack on to the conclusion of our story. Not needed in the slightest. Honestly, bookending the film with these two segments like that was completely baffling. And the screenplay is just as clunky as the editing and the direction. A lot of these lines just don't flow naturally. They never feel like true or real conversation. Even when it comes to Pedro himself, I think Kenneth Branagh is having a lot of fun with the role. He embodies it well enough, and when he's going and firing, it is fun. Other times, it's just these really awkward moments and lines thrown out for no apparent reason, with no type of rhythm or meaning within the context of the scene. Liked the original score. Fortunately, it just felt entirely too grand for the ho hum film I was watching. And the rest of our cast is really just kind of either there or bad. Canceled Cannibalist is overacting so badly in this film. Annette Bening is basically sleepwalking. This is one of the most uninspired performances I've seen from her. The rest of the cast is okay, but once again, a little bit over the top. Just the film never settled in. It didn't know if it wanted to be this campy murder mystery or if it wanted to be pretty self serious and tried to infuse the two in a really awkward and rather off putting manner. Overall, unfortunately, Death on the Nile was quite the disappointment. In all honesty, it is a shoddy mess, which is a shame from director Kenneth Branagh coming off the beautiful work he did with Belfast to then go back to something like this. Really just lacks finesse. It lacks craft in the way it was put together, the way it was structured. Honestly, I don't even know if I would recommend this for people who like Agatha Christie novels because you already know who the killer is. You know what the situation is going to be, though if you're watching, it's not all that hard to figure out pretty quickly in the film. But without that added extra mystery, I don't know what you're really going to get out of this. And I don't think that you're going to see the novel you loved brought to life with justice. So honestly, this is a rather slog to get through with a very poorly paced script that's very poorly paced. And as I said, felt like a slow death in the movie theater before we finally got to the end credits. So that's it. That's my review for Death on the Nile. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click like down below and subscribe to the channel so that you are always up to date on all of my latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. Are you excited to see Death on the Nile? And what is your favorite whodunit? Let me know either in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your continued support. Mwah. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.